بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
So first of all, we've got two things here. One, that there is a combination between the mustache, between the tash and the beard. Okay, so the sharib and the lihya in all three of these ahadith. Secondly, we have a qaid, a type of stipulation saying be different to the Jews and the Christians, or the Majus, or the Mushrikeen. Now many people have interpreted this to mean that it is an obligatory command, a mandatory command. But we see quite differently from other ahadith. So let me take you to a few other ahadith that share or that bear a resemblance to this from the differing perspective. So there is a hadith of Abu Huraira radiallahu anh, which is in the Musnad of Ahmad and Abu Dawud, and it is transmitted also by Bukhari, that the Prophet ﷺ said that the Yahud la yasbighun, that they do not dye their hair, they do not color their hair. So the Prophet ﷺ said, فَاسْبِغُوا فَخَالِفُوهُمْ, so be different to them and you color your hair. Color, whether that is of the head or of the beard, color it. There is another hadith transmitted in the book of Hakim and in the Sahih of Ibn Hibban, that the Prophet ﷺ said, it is transmitted by Shaddad ibn Aus, that the Prophet ﷺ said that Khaliful Yahud, that be different to the Yahud, فَإِنَّهُمْ لَا يُصَلُّونَ فِي نِعَالِهِمْ وَخِفَافِهِمْ, they do not pray in their shoes, wearing their shoes. So be different to them. Khalifum, and this is a command. Now there is another hadith which is transmitted once again in Sahih Muslim, in Tirmidhi, and in the Musnad of Ahmad, that the Prophet ﷺ, on the authority of Amr ibn al-As, stated that the difference between us and the people of the book, and that how we should be different to them in regard to our fasting, is that we should wake up for sahur, or uklatus sahur is the wording of the hadith, is the difference between us and the people of the book. And there are a few other examples as well, but I'll just keep these three, which will really suffice to show what I'm trying to prove here. And that is that, first of all, the ulama generally across the board have agreed that in all three of these ahadith, in the one of Abu Huraira, in the one of Shaddad ibn Aus, in the one of Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anh, in these type of ahadith where the Prophet has instructed people that Khaliful Yahud, be different, color your hair, color your beard, that be different to the Yahud, pray in your shoes, that be different, eat sahur, that in these type and other ahadith that resemble this, that the command and instruction here is not mandatory. Rather, some have said it is simply permissible, others have said that it is upon recommendation, and that seems to be the popular view amongst the majority of the ulama. Okay, so if here this is taken as a recommendation, then why is it when it is mentioned with the beard that it must be an obligation? That's a question. Another point of contention is that we see that there are several ahadith in which the Prophet ﷺ has taught us. Some have been transmitted, for example, on the authority of Aisha radiallahu anha, that 10 actions are from the fitrah, and they mention all these different actions like siwak and so on, and rinsing the mouth, and amongst them is i'fa'ul lihya, that allowing the beard to grow. And the fitra is understood to mean the sunnah. And there are several variations. There is some transmission from Ata, that which is in the book of Hakim, that there are 10 acts of fitra, including that of the beard. And then there are other transmissions, and I will accept that whilst investigating these ahadith, many of the ulama have found that there have been some problems with the chains. But what they have found is what is definitely sahih, through various narrations, whether it's been through Bayhaqi, the book of Bayhaqi, through Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, through Ibn Abd al-Bar, through Tirmidhi, through various narrations, that from the actions of fitra is to trim the mustache. Okay, trimming the tash is from the ihfa' al-sharib, is from the actions of fitra. So now this brings us back to the hadith, the three, all of which contained both actions, the mustache and the beard, and the fact that we should be different. So you can see that when it comes to trimming the mustache, that has been clearly proven to have been from the act, from the sunan or the fitra of this deen, and not from the obligatory actions of this deen. Okay, so these were some of the evidences that those ulama, and there were many whom I've mentioned, have used as a basis historically for centuries up until this very day and age, to say that growing a fistful beard is not obligatory. Abu Layth Al-Maliki, one of the legends, almost 1,000 years old, said that the Prophet ﷺ used the word a'fu, that grow the beard, which also means to trim. And he said because some of the Ahlul Kitab had great beards, and the Prophet ﷺ, it's possible, he said it's very possible. In fact, he says kilahuma muhtamal. He said that the Prophet ﷺ was saying shorten the beard in a way that it's less, although it's still a beard, but it's less than what the Jews and Christians have. He said that that is possible. And he says that this wording, what is also possible from it, is that grow it in relation to the mustache. That is an interpretation from a scholar that is almost 1,000 years old, from Al-Andalus, Abu Layth Al-Maliki. So we see these classical narrations coming through. This is not a phenomenon of postmodernity. This is something that is well found and established in our books. And we have to recognize that the ikhtilaf is well founded. It is in our tradition. It is undeniable. I am not stating by any means that there is no other opinion. There are opinions that people have said, look, you must have a fistful length beard. Some have said you must just let it grow altogether. And people are entitled to follow that if they please. But what they cannot do is deny that these opinions have existed as authentic opinions of some of the greatest ulama of this deen till our very day and age. And what is interesting and worth mentioning, that Imam Malik was asked that when somebody informs another of the sunnah, أَيُجَادِلُ عَنِ السُّنَّةِ, should he start arguing and debating and getting into such a discourse and such a heated discussion with people regarding the sunnah? And Imam Malik said, La. He said, Bal yukhbar anha, that's all. He said, you simply state and inform and you leave it at that. That is how this deen has been transmitted, with etiquettes. And we see people today will often do things as judge people. We are so swift to judge one another. we must remember that it is not these outwardly things that reflect the true state of a person, let alone that these states which we are objecting to have actually been substantiated by many ulama of this tradition. That said, people, I have clarified quite clearly and substantiated that this opinion does exist. It is not haram according to many of the great ulama, and I've quoted people like Qadi Iyad, like people like Imam Nawawi, Al-Rafi'i, Al-Ghazali, many others up until this very day and age, Ibn Ashur, right up until contemporary scholars like Sheikh Mustafa Zarqa or Sheikh Yusuf Al-Qardawi, and many others who have clearly stated that it is not haram to trim your beard. Likewise, many have said it is not haram to have an uthnoon, or what is interpreted as a goatee beard. It is not haram to be kind of trimming below a fistful in length. That said, this is not a matter of the deen which we should treat as a tenet of faith, the way some people have kind of given this such, they have prioritized it in a way that it almost, Allahu A'lam, like perhaps comes after Tawheed, or one of the greatest tenets of this deen. That is not the status or the maqam of this mas'ala. That said, people, I leave you with a poem that अब जिसके जी में आए इससे ले रोशनी, हमने तो दिल जलाकर सरेआम रख दिया. That, I mean, whoever wishes that he can take heed or guidance from what has been said or displayed, that we have really just poured out everything we possibly could. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to teach us from His knowledge, to give us the tawfiq to reconnect with this amazing legacy that we have, to have the ability to convey the true understanding of this deen to those who come after us. وسبحان الله وتعالى عما يصفون وأفضل الصلاة والسلام على القائل الممنون المدينة خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. With that, folks, جزاكم الله الخير for listening. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.